Hello, and welcome to Cite in MLA, another ELAC Libraries online workshop series installment. After today's workshop, you'll be able to define citation and plagiarism, cite a book and an article in MLA style, and know where to go to get help with citing your sources. So what exactly is citing? When in college, your professors will expect you to use and analyze outside sources. Citing is the formal way that we give credit to those outside sources that we're using in our academic research. It involves using someone else's words, ideas, or even creations and acknowledging the original source of that borrowed information. On the flip side, plagiarism is the act of using someone else's words, ideas, or creations without giving them proper credit and passing it off as your own work. This is completely against your student code of conduct. Consequences may include failing the assignment, failing your class, or even getting expelled from college. So how do you avoid plagiarism? You want to cite your sources when you're including paraphrased or summarized information or ideas from a book, article, film, or other outside source. You want to cite your sources when you're using a direct quote from a person or a source. And you want to cite your sources when you're referencing graphs, charts, data, or images from a source. A good rule of thumb is if these ideas or creations did not come from you, you should be citing that source, unless it's known as common knowledge. So how do you cite your sources? Basically, you'll need to follow a style guide or style manual. These different style guides give you rules and formatting for how to cite your sources, as well as how to format your paper, your preferred style of language to be used when writing, and your intended audience. Citation styles and guides are discipline specific. In the top left, we have an example of APA publication manual, or the style used for psychology. In the middle, we have an example of the Chicago Manual of Style used in history and fine arts. And on the bottom, we have the ASA Style Guide used in sociology. You'll always want to ask your professor and double check which style you should be using when citing. For this workshop, we'll be using MLA style. This is the style most commonly used in English and humanities. Here's an image of the MLA handbook, of which we're currently on the 8th edition. When you're citing your sources in MLA style, you'll need to use two types of citations. You'll have your in-text citations, which are in the body of your paper, and those will refer your readers to your full citations at the end of your paper in a works cited page. Here's a visual of what that might look like in practice. On the left side, we have the body of the paper, and you'll see highlighted we have the in-text citations. The in-text citations, when done in MLA style, should be in parentheses. The parentheses let the reader know that this information is taken from an outside source. Inside the parentheses, you'll usually just give the authors and the page numbers. That shortened citation will let your professor know where they can find the full source in the works cited page. So how do I go about creating those citations for my works cited page. Step 1 is to figure out your source type. Is it a book you're citing from, a chapter from a book, an online news article, an interview? Different source types will need different identifying information in order to build the citation. Next, you'll need to find the identifying information. This often includes things like title, author, publication date, and if it's found online, you'll also need to include the website. Then you'll follow the formatting of the style guide in order to create your citation. Pay special attention to things like punctuation, capitalization, spacing, italics, and quotation marks. Let's put this to practice and create an MLA citation for this print book, Like War. First, we've identified that it's a print book, and next we'll need to identify the required ingredients in order to cite a print book. So first we'll need the authors. Here I've listed the authors, P.W. Singer and Emerson T. Brooking, which are found on the front cover of the book. Next, we'll list the title, also found on the front cover of the book, and the subtitle will be listed after a colon. Next, we'll list the publisher name. That information is often found on the title page of the book, and also the publication date, usually also listed on the title page of the book. So, what does that look like as an MLA citation? Here's that full MLA citation. So first, we have our two authors listed last name, comma, first name, and with two authors, you'll also have to include a comma, the word and the first and last name of the second author. Next, we have the title. Notice the title of the book is in italics, followed by a publisher name and a date. Also pay special attention to your punctuation. Things like when to put a period versus when to put a comma. Let's practice now creating a citation for this scholarly article that we found online in the SAGE database. So we've already identified that this is a scholarly article. Now we'll need to identify the required information. Here's the MLA citation for that scholarly article. First, we have the author, last name, comma, first name. Now we'll have multiple titles. The first title is the title of the article, and the title of the article will be in quotes. The next title we have is the title of the overall journal that we found this article in, and that title will be in italics. After the title of the journal, we'll also have the volume and issue number. Notice after the title of the article, we have a period. Then we have a comma, 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 until we reach the end of the page numbers. So volume and issue number, both abbreviated as VOL period and number as NO period. After the issue number, we have the name of the database. The name of the database will also need to be in italics. We have the date abbreviated, the page numbers of this article, and finally, because we did find this article online, we'll have to include the URL. In this case, this scholarly article has a DOI, also called a digital object identifier, which can be used in place of a URL. So here's what a sample works cited page might look like for those two sources. Some quick formatting notes for your works cited page. Remember to double space your citations. Remember to include a hanging indent. Remember that your citations need to be in alphabetical order by the first word in the citation. They should be in Times New Roman 12-point font. If you're using Microsoft Word, there are also MLA templates that you can use. Before you open up a new document, click on the templates and type in MLA and hit the search button. You'll see there are MLA style papers that you can use as templates to format your research paper. Before we get going, I wanted to share with you a couple of helpful MLA resources. The first one is ELAC Library's MLA 8 handout. The link for that can be found at bit.ly/libhandouts. Let's have a look at that guide. So this page takes us to our ELAC Library handouts. The MLA guide is listed under Citation Handouts. And this two-page handout will give you a short and quick guide to how to format your research in MLA style. Part 1 gives you formatting for your in-text citations. Part 2 tells you how to build the citations for your works cited page and gives you common abbreviations. You'll notice in Part 2 that for each section, we've given you a formula that you can follow, followed by an example that you can see in practice. And this is true for every type of source that we have listed. We have the formula, followed by the example. Same thing down here. Formula, followed by example. On the second page of this handout, we have a sample MLA works cited page that you can use to also format your citations. So for example, our book citation, we had 2 authors. If you do not know how to cite your sources in MLA for 2 or more authors, we have examples. So here is your example for 2 authors. And up here is an example for 3 or more authors. Part 4 of this handout gives you a couple of resources that you can look at later on. The next resources that I'd like to share with you is the Excelsior Online Writing Lab. The link to that is bit.ly/ExcelsierMLA. This is a great website created by Excelsior College that gives you a ton of information on how to cite in MLA style. Notice off to the left, you can jump around in their menu. For example, if you need help citing your in-text citations, you can click on the menu and get a longer submenu of options. You can also click on your MLA works cited menu and you'll get a submenu of different options of how to cite your sources. So for example, if you were unsure of how to print, say, an article from a database, you can click on that option from the submenu and you'll get examples that you can follow. The last resource I'd like to share with you is YouTube. YouTube is a great place where lots of students, faculty, staff, and librarians share videos on how to do things like create a hanging indent in Microsoft Word or format your research. So YouTube is a great place to check for help as well. All right, so now it's your turn. In order to get credit for this online workshop, you'll need to complete the online worksheet. That can be found at bit.ly/CiteWriteMLA form. Once you complete that online worksheet, a librarian will contact you and the professor you listed with a workshop completed confirmation email. Again, you can find the online worksheet at the following link: bit.ly/CiteWriteMLA form. Please be sure to capitalize the C, R, and MLA in this URL.